And I believe that the growth rate in India is going to be exponential.
Two narratives of Indian story which need to be brought center stage.
Every week, the India story will bring the most incisive analysis, the most authoritative voices.
India will be a significant pole in the universe of AI going forward.
India is walking tall, India's stature is different, India's voice is being heard.
And the biggest newsmakers.
This is just a start. Tokyo, we won one bronze. Paris, we won a rocket.
Good to see that, women cricket is getting more excited and everybody is looking up to that.
And these stories need to be told, and they are guided by the compass of their conscience.
From India for the world, the India story, the show for the global citizen.
You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert.
You have ignored us in the past and you will ignore us again. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
Show us your faithfulness. Show us your trustworthiness. Show us your honesty. Prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong. God help us all if you fail to prove us wrong. God help us.
Hi everyone, welcome to WION Live Broadcast with me, Susan Tehrani, coming to you from New York City. First, let's take a look at the stories making headlines this hour. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres addresses the 78th session of the General Assembly, calls for reform of international institutions, urges urgent action on climate change. Armenian Prime Minister accuses Azerbaijan of launching a ground operation in Nagorno-Karabakh, says his army is not involved in fighting and the situation on the border remains stable. Russia's news agencies are reporting that the defense minister of the country has arrived in Iran on an official visit. He's slated to hold talks with the Iranian military leadership and boost bilateral ties. Five Americans freed from Iranian prison arrive in the U.S. An emotional moment as returning citizens were embraced by their families at the airport. The much-anticipated women's reservation bill has been tabled in both houses of the Indian Parliament. The bill to reserve 1/3 of seats for women in the lower house of Parliament and state assemblies. Canada claims that it has credible information linking Indian government agents to the murder of a Sikh separatist leader in British Columbia. He was named a terrorist in New Delhi. New Delhi immediately called the accusations as being absurd and motivated. Canada expelled a top Indian diplomat, and India retaliated in a tit-for-tat move and asked the Canadian intelligence agency station chief in India to leave the country. Our next report explains the situation.
The gloves are off. A diplomatic battle is raging between Ottawa and New Delhi. The Canadian Prime Minister accuses India of being behind the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Over the past number of weeks, Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Hardeep Singh Nijjar was shot dead outside a Sikh holy shrine on June 18th in Surrey, a Vancouver suburb. Nijjar was the chief of the separatist organization Khalistan Tiger Force. According to New Delhi, Nijjar was actively involved with the Khalistan Liberation Force. He was designated a terrorist in July 2020 by India and also carried a cash reward of 10 lakh rupees, that's $12,000.
Alors bien entendu, j'aimerais transmettre mes condoléances à la famille et aux proches de Hardeep Singh Nijjar. L'allégation qu'un représentant d'un gouvernement étranger puisse être impliqué dans le meurtre d'un citoyen canadien, ici, chez nous, en sol canadien, est non seulement extrêmement troublante, mais complètement inacceptable. Si ces allégations sont prouvées, il s'agirait d'une grave violation de notre souveraineté en tant que pays, mais également des règles les plus élémentaires qui gouvernent les relations entre pays.
The Indian Foreign Ministry has called the allegations absurd and stated that Ottawa is seeking to shift the focus from Khalistani terrorists and extremists who have been provided shelter in Canada and continue to threaten India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. New Delhi is unhappy over Sikh separatist activity in Canada and has time and again sounded off the Trudeau government. The Indian Prime Minister conveyed his strong concerns to Trudeau at the G20 summit over the recent demonstrations in Canada by Sikhs calling for an independent state. In June, some Khalistani elements in Brampton reportedly took out a float depicting the assassination of former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. However, despite India's repeated reminders, Trudeau has refused to rein in separatist elements and has not acted on attacks on temples and the Indian mission. Experts have also pointed out domestic politics at play in Canada. Multiple polls have shown that Trudeau's popularity has dropped steadily, and at this juncture he is increasingly wooing the Sikh diaspora, which makes up a considerable support base for the Liberal Party. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
For more on this, we are now being joined by Ambassador Anil Wadhwa from the Indian capital, New Delhi. He's a former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us on WION. You know, the saying goes that all politics are local. How much of this incident has to do with Canada's internal affairs?
I think it has a lot to do with Canada's internal affairs because we know for a fact that the actions that the Trudeau government has taken, especially the expulsion of a diplomat from the Indian mission, was totally uncalled for. And that's because if you look at the choice of words while describing this action, Prime Minister Trudeau himself in Parliament talked about credible allegations. First of all, allegations cannot be credible. Secondly, the potential links that he talked about, there's nothing which is proven, even in his own words. And on top of that, he raised this issue with the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Modi, when he was here for the G20 summit, and he was clearly told that there is no such linkage at all of Indian agents or authorities with what has happened in Canada with regard to this incident. Now, despite that, he chose to go back to Canada and raise this issue in Parliament, followed by an expulsion of the Indian diplomat. Obviously, retaliation had to take place, and that has happened here in New Delhi. But what he does not realize is that unless local politics are tempered, you can have a big fallout on a relationship which is a relationship between India and Canada, which is not of a very small size. And that's exactly the effect of the local politics on this relationship.
Mr. Ambassador, how serious is this for Canada-India relations moving forward and their ties? Will it to what extent would it jeopardize these relations?
It certainly will, at least in the short to medium term, because India and Canada enjoy extensive trade and investment relations. There is a large diaspora from India which lives in Canada. 3% of the Canadian population consists of people of Indian origin. Many of them are doing extremely well in the professional services in Canada. Canada has a lot of Indian students which go to Canada to study every year. The numbers are increasing year by year, in fact. And all that is going to go down steadily if things don't improve. I don't see that happening in the near term because of this particular incident, and also because of the fact that the Canadian domestic politics have cast a shadow on this otherwise very promising relationship. In fact, the free trade agreement that India and Canada have been negotiating for some time now was also put on hold by the Trudeau government just before the visit of Prime Minister Trudeau to India for the G20 for reasons which were not communicated to the Indian side.
Okay, Mr. Anil Wadhwa, a former secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi, thank you so much for joining us on WION and shedding light on this issue.
Thank you.
Well, here in the United States, the race for the White House is heating up. Republican candidates continue to campaign across the country, talking to voters in an increasingly crowded field seeking the presidential nomination. Meanwhile, former U.S. President Donald Trump plans to skip the second Republican debate. According to Trump's campaign, the former president will skip the second Republican presidential primary debate in California next week, and instead travel to Detroit to deliver a speech to an audience that will include current and former union members. The exact time and audience are not yet clear, but according to reports, Trump will speak in the same city where United Auto Worker members have taken to the picket lines to demand higher wages, better schedules, and better benefits. Moreover, the speech comes as Trump has been harshly critical of President Joe Biden's electric vehicle policies and urged auto workers to back his candidacy. The former president's decision comes as polling shows that he is the strongest frontrunner in the Republican field, a reason he has given for skipping the debate entirely. Earlier, Trump skipped the first GOP debate for a primetime interview with Tucker Carlson on X, formerly known as Twitter. The second GOP debate is scheduled for the 27th of September at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in California. The Republican National Committee has not yet confirmed which candidates have qualified to participate in the debate, which requires reaching a minimum threshold of polling numbers and unique campaign donors. So far, it does appear that aside from the former president, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, former UN ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and former Vice President Mike Pence, along with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, may be on that stage. A U.S. fighter jet's stealth ability appears to be working too well, as it took authorities hours, even days, to locate a debris field after an F-35 went missing when the pilot ejected because of a quote-unquote mishap. Authorities found a debris field from a Marine Corps F-35 stealth fighter jet that crashed in South Carolina after the pilot ejected and parachuted to safety. According to the Marine Corps' Joint Base Charleston, the debris field was located in rural Williamsburg County. The field is about 2 hours northeast of the base, and residents were being asked to avoid the area while the recovery team worked to secure it. The debris was found after authorities had been searching for the jet since the pilot, whose name hasn't been released, parachuted into safety into a northern Charleston neighborhood on Sunday. He was taken to a hospital where the pilot is said to be in stable condition. This is the third costly accident in recent weeks. The announcement gave no details on the two previous incidents, but it's the third event documented as a Class A mishap over the past 6 weeks. According to a Marine Corps announcement, such incidents occur when damages reach $2.5 million or more, a Department of Defense aircraft is destroyed, or someone died or is permanently disabled. Moreover, the Marine Corps announced on Monday that it was pausing operations for 2 days after the fighter jet's crash. Okay, moving on to the economy. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen here in the United States has indicated that it's too early to determine what effect the strike in the U.S. car sector may have on the overall economy. Yellen told CNBC on Monday, and this is a quote, that it's premature to forecast what it means for the economy. She added that it all depends on how long the strike lasts. According to Yellen, the Biden administration is counting on the United Auto Workers, the UAW union, and the automakers to negotiate a 24/7 to reach an agreement. She said that the two sides need to narrow their disagreements and seek a quote-unquote win-win accord. The Treasury Secretary also noted that the labor market is, quote, healthy, but showing signs of weakness. Despite a global pandemic and a lack of semiconductors, Detroit's automakers survived with billions in subsidies from the Biden administration. They were embracing a historic shift to the electric car era. Revenue was increasing rapidly. Then Sean Fain arrived. The strike at the three GM, Ford, and Stellantis NV plants headed by UAE President Sean Fain is not your typical fight between workers and employees. The 54-year-old ex-Chrysler electrician is advocating for a radical overhaul of pay scale and working conditions that would significantly alter the economics of the auto industry. He has shocked the executives by asking for a 32-hour work week and a 40% rise in salary over the next 4 years, both of which are unprecedented in the American manufacturing sector. The UAW's belligerence is indicative of the increasing tenor of the American worker as a whole. While average Americans are fearful of losing their jobs to automation, they are frustrated by the widening income disparity. The UAW drama has gained more attention in light of the recent wave of strikes. Hollywood actors and writers have gone on strike, and employees at firms as diverse as Starbucks, Amazon, Apple, and Microsoft are voting to unionize. Only time will tell what impact the UAW's war on auto giants will have on the overall economy. Okay, now here's a story that many have a lot of opinions on. The United States Senate has brought in a change to the dress code of the House. Now, public representatives can wear casual attire at work and are no longer expected to suit up to conduct business on the Senate floor. Chuck Schumer, who is a Democrat senator from New York and the majority leader, has established a new dress code. Earlier, all senators were expected to wear business attire when on the floor. The new dress code allows members to take a more business casual approach to their workwear, or even more casual. The earlier dress code was enforced by a sergeant at arms in the Senate. The sergeant not only handled security in the chamber, but also enforced outfit standards for all who entered the Senate. In recent years, plenty of senators departed from the suit and tie uniform. The influence of Senator John Fetterman is most notable. The first-term Democrat from Pennsylvania briefly donned the suit and tie for his first few months in Congress. Later, he reverted to wearing his signature sweatshirts and baggy shorts, exercise attire. But not all welcomed the move by the U.S. Senate. Republican Representative, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene, took to social media platform X and said that the change in the dress code was, quote unquote, disgraceful. There have been two other notable changes to the dress code in the U.S. Senate. Both came into effect in 2019. One was permitting women to wear sleeveless dresses, and the other was to allow religious headgear to be worn on the floor.
Mr. Bennett.
Make good on our promise to take on climate change and climate justice.
That people on Medicare with diabetes won't have to.
X, formerly known as Twitter, has gone through a series of transitions over the past several months, and now you may soon have to pay for an account on X. Ex-CEO Elon Musk feels this is the only way to counter bots and fake accounts. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently met with tech billionaire Elon Musk, and during the live stream conversation, Musk said that he believes the only way to counter bots is by initiating a payment system. The social network may no longer be a free site. Musk feels a small monthly payment would only make the application more legitimate. Musk didn't say what the new subscription payment would cost, but described it as a small amount of money. Elon Musk said getting people to pay for the service is aimed at tackling bots. Experts believe putting X behind a paywall might lead to X losing a large chunk of its users. This could drive down X's advertising revenue, which currently accounts for the vast majority of the company's income. The idea of charging everyone on X is not a new one. However, last year, Musk mentioned that the paywall idea will happen, and he said that for the first time. The company currently charges $8 per month for its X Premium users. Musk's conversation with the Israeli Prime Minister also touched on anti-Semitism on X. He claimed that X is actively engaging to eliminate such mindsets on the platform. Okay, it's time for some news from the world of entertainment. Pop singer and multi-platinum selling artist Katy Perry has sold the rights to her music. The singer sold her music rights to Litmus Music for $225 million, joining the top 10 list of artists with the most expensive back catalogs. The 5 studio albums cover in the deal were released between 2008 and 2020 and include One of the Boys, Teenage Dream, Prism, Witness, and Smile. Universal Music Group retained ownership of the masters for these albums. One of the best-selling music artists ever, Katy Perry is one of the 5 artists to sell 100 million digital records. The singer has been nominated for over 340 awards and has won more than 100 of them. But she is not the first singer to sell her music rights. In the past, artists like Justin Bieber, Bob Dylan, and Bruce Springsteen, too, have given up the rights to their music catalogs for major payouts. Sao Paulo is definitely getting excited about climate change. The intriguing exhibition is attracting visitors at a time when Brazil's largest city is bracing for record-breaking heat waves. we leave you with these visuals. Thank you for joining us on WION Live Broadcast from New York. I'm Susan Tehrani.
I loved it. You're walking down the street and the aesthetics catch your eye. And when you stop at the exhibition and reflect on the subject of global warming, a topic that's on the global agenda and that everyone is talking about, it makes you think and demands that we take more responsibility with our attitudes.
India's global voice.
It's easy to tell you a flat story. It's easy to show you what's happening around the world. We do the difficult part.
This weapon has been banned, but the US, Ukraine and Russia do not find the bombs problematic.
We also tell you why what's happening.
New drug is making a difference in the fight against Alzheimer's. This medicine helps slow down a patient's cognitive decline.
We look beyond the text. We give you context.
Is China preparing for a war in the Himalayas? And tonight, we come to you with some proof.
Hypocrisy is stunning.
Do leaders mean what they say? Do they ever say what they mean? To find out how real news affects you, your decisions.
Just when Iran took one step in the right direction, its moral police is planning to drag it further back. And once again, the victim will be women.
Watch Gravitas.
And thanks for tuning in.
We don't impose our views.
Did India threaten to ban Twitter? Either that or Jack Dorsey is lying to you.
That is Gravitas. We let life breathe through our show. Gravitas, the informed show for an intelligent audience.
Hello, welcome to This World. Vladimir Amelyan joins us from Kiev, and he is currently on the front line fighting